So here's our bottom up 3 R's. And just to remind us that we regulate first, as Courtney has been saying, then we relate, and then we reason. So whether it is with a toddler, an older child, a teenager, an adult, somebody that is verbal or nonverbal, when there is upset or distress, we meet and we do that co-regulation first, so then we can relate to one another, and then we can begin the reasoning. And with that, we have some activities to try with our children that will help us to work through those 3 R's. They will help we start with our regulate, and then we have an activity to help with relation. And then our last one is the reasoning part. And doing these activities together with your child helps with calming the heart, which is helping the regulation, creating that connection, and conversations to grow, reflection and reasoning, so that we can learn from the experience. So our first activity is called 5-finger breathing. It's a breathing activity. So if we remember our brainstem at the back of our heads, that it is responsible for our breathing and our heart rate. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to regulate our breathing and regulate the heart rates with our child, that co-regulation. And one way to do that is by putting one hand up. And with your other hand, you're going to touch the bottom of the hand. And with a little child, you can do this part for them and breathe with them. And we're going to breathe in as we draw up the thumb, and then out as you go down. And then you go in as you go up, and out as you come down. In as you come up, and out as you go down. And in as you go up, out as you come down. And then you go last one, in as you come up, out as you go down. And you can go right back around if they're still feeling a little bit distressed, and keep going around the hand. What that does is, one, we're working on breathing. So we're regulating our rate of breathing, which will help regulate the heart rate. We're using the sense of touch to feel the finger coming up the side of the other hand and down. So we're engaging the sense of touch, which is also going to help regulate that brainstem. And we're also using vision, because we are looking at the hand and we're following the finger going up and down. And all those pieces together will help bring down the breathing rate. If it's really up and shallow, that kid, that you can see that children get when they're getting upset, help that deeper breathing, which will help lower the heart rate, and it'll help to regulate so that we can move into the next we can move into the next activity, which helps us to relate. So in this activity, there's also a little bit of that regulation, because if we remember that midbrain, there's still some regulation that is happening. But now we are going to relate, because we're going to talk and we're going to point and we're going to work with our child to help relate to them and connect. So what we're going to do, it's called the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we are going to use all 5 of our senses. So in those moments when we're upset or distressed, or we feel like we're starting to get upset, we've done our 5-finger breathing, we've started to come down, but we're still not quite ready for reason, this will also help with the regulation, continue regulating, as well as create connection. And first, we're going to name 5 things that we can see around us. So and we're going to point. I can see a lamp. I can see a picture. I can see a blanket. I can see a wall. I can see a desk. Now we're going to touch 4 things. I can touch my hair. I can touch my chair. I can touch the ground, or I can touch the desk. You're going to find 5 things and you're actually going to try and touch them. And then we're going to do 3 things you can hear. So I can hear in the room I'm in right now, I can hear the air from the air conditioning. I can hear the sound of my own voice echoing off the walls a little bit. And I can hear footsteps walking in the hallway. And then 2 things you can smell. So this one can be a little bit harder, and sometimes it takes a little bit more work. And this is where that relating comes in, where you can start having those conversations. What do you smell? I smell the Clorox cleaners that they used on the desk. And I smell the shampoo from washing my hair this morning. And then this last one is one thing you can taste. So we're incorporating our taste buds. However, this one can be a little bit difficult. So you can also use one big breath. But when we're talking about taste, like I can taste the remnants of the coffee that I had before we started our session, or I can taste my saliva, or I can taste the cookie I just ate, or the toothpaste from brushing my teeth. Or if they're having a hard time with that, just holding their hands and doing a big breath together will help round out that exercise. And then the next one that we have is our reason section. And this is a storying exercise called My Story. So the purpose of this activity is to strengthen the relational bond at the reason stage. At this stage, we have more verbal ability, we're ready to talk, we're ready to interact with one another. And by sharing, reminiscing, providing information, sharing stories with one another, we're going to build our child's story, the story of who they are. And through this process, both the child and the parent and you as caregiver have the opportunity to learn about one another. So kids love to learn about themselves. They love hearing stories of when they were born or funny things they did as babies. And then you also will have the opportunity to ask them questions about what their favorite color is or what's their favorite toy today. So you will have the opportunity to ask questions of one another and work together to learn about the child from 2 different perspectives, or 3 different perspectives, or 4, depending on how many people we incorporate into this activity. So the sound outline that you see on the slide will be provided in the PDF handout, as well as the instructions for the 5-finger breathing and our 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. But we're going to start, you're going to want to have some paper, some construction paper, plain paper, lined paper, whatever kind of paper you would like to use, pencils, pens, markers, crayons, pencil crayons, a hole punch, maybe a do-a-tang folder. You can tie it with some ribbon or some string, and anything else, stickers or stamps or anything else that you'd like to incorporate into the story, pictures. And then we're going to start with a basic outline. So chapter 1 is all about the child. So we're going to ask things like their name and age. What do they look like? Do they have dark hair? Do they have light hair? Is it short? Is it long? Is it curly? Is it straight? What do I like most to do? So what does your child like to do most? What are some of their favorite foods? Things like, when I fall asleep, I like to, and then get them to tell you what they like to do as they fall asleep. Maybe they like to listen to mommy singing them a song, or they like dad reading them a story, or they like caregiver rubbing their backs, whatever it is that they like to fall asleep. When I feel bad, I like to. So getting them to tell you what helps them feel better when they're feeling bad. What mom, dad, caregiver likes best about me. So this is an opportunity for you to tell your child the things that you most treasure about them. What is it about them that you really love? And things that they're exceptionally good at. So they get to tell you the things that they feel that they're really good at and what they feel that they can do well. And once we get a little bit of that information about themselves, our next chapter is about the family. Who are the people in their family? Who lives in the house? What roles do they play? When they're with mom, dad, siblings, grandparents, caregiver, what do they like to do? What are their favorite memories of being with the family? And working together to, talk about different things that you've done, different memories you have together is really fun. And then pick one and you can write it into their book. On chapter 3, it's all about the day they were born. So this is going to be a lot of you as a parent really telling the child the things you remember from the day they were born, because they're not going to remember that day themselves. So what time, date, the place they were born, how big were they? Did they look all squishy? Did they cry? How mom and dad felt or grandparents felt the first time that they held the child, how then they got their name, maybe a funny little story about what happened when they were born. And then the next chapter, chapter 4, is going to be about when they were a baby. So what were they like as a baby? And the child can ask, what was I like? What were their first words? Or what was their first sound? Or what was their first thing that they did? What did they really like to eat? Was there something that they really liked putting in their mouths? Was there something they really hated putting in their mouths? What were some of mom and dad's or caregivers or grandparents' favorite memories from that time when they were an infant? And then it keeps going. In chapter 5, we can talk about their best day, favorite day ever, where they get to tell you what they remember as their favorite day, and they can describe it. You can ask questions about who was there, what did we do, where did we go? Chapter 6, what was the worst day? What happened that day? What made it the worst day ever? And maybe even changing it slightly to what we have done that might have made it better, which will help you to learn when things are going bad for your child, or what can we do to help their day get better? And then chapter 7, our best time as a family. So as a family, we're talking about one of your favorite memories that you did together and sort of drawing that out. What were the things that you did? Who was there? How did it feel when you did this? Did something funny happen? Did something sad happen? And then chapter 8, my proudest moment. And this is a chapter where we can talk about the child's proudest moment of themselves and the parent's proudest moment of the child. So we get to hear two different stories of what they felt their proudest moment was and what you feel their proudest moment is. So all of this information will be given to you in our handout. But this activity is really a chance to connect, relate. So that top part, we're using the cortex, our thinking, our reasoning, our memory. And it can be done electronically. You could do it with papers and pens and physical things. It could be a video. There's so many different ways that you could get creative with this activity. This is just a guideline. So the whole point is to get creative, have fun, connect with your child, and create their story with them.
Thank you. Sure, you can just leave it on that slide for 1 second. I want to be mindful as well in, remembering the community that we are speaking with. And, often some of these things, maybe the questions that are popping to your mind is that, well, I can't do that with my child, or my child can't do that with me or with us. And it brings me back to the topic of creating healthy relational bonds and positive relational connections. And remember that these are just examples of things, and they can be customized and tailored to what your situation is and what the needs are of what your child has or the relationship between you and your child. So when Cherie was going through the 5-finger breathing, if your child happens to have visual impairment, you are still able to use that tactile piece, and you're able to use the tone of your voice and the softness of your hand or textures of different materials on their skin. If there's an issue with hearing, then using your face and how your face looks can be something that is used, and it's really important. Um, if your children aren't at a verbal communication level or they struggle with some of that, then there is where you get to speak for part of them, and you get to ask them how they might show you or express some of those questions in a different way for you to build a story for them. And knowing that rare disease can sometimes be something that can be you're made aware of it earlier on in your child's life. Sometimes I know that's not always the case, but generally, if you as parents and caregivers are with us today, have children who are in the infant to 6 range, or even all the way up to 18 years old, working through my story may involve a lot more things that seem negative as we're talking about this right now. And you're like, well, I don't know how we would answer that. And still being able to give language and to give words or to give feeling space or give picture space to talking about what some of those are, and then offering that circle of security space where the comfort can be provided in an answer for the rest of that chapter's question. There, this is, our stories don't always have that amazing, perfect parenting. Like Circle of Security said, there's no such thing as perfect parenting. Well, there's no such thing as a perfect story that has all of the most amazing highlights and wonders of the world either. So part of our story does involve challenges, and it does involve hurdles and hurts and worries and griefs, but it also invites space for curiosity, for laughter. I love how I think it was Karen mentioned laughter is such a great thing, and it is. Laughter is a healing thing for us, and being able to create laughter with your facial expression with young children or with older children or even among the rest of the family in the home, laughter is something that is healing and is part of storytelling. So there are different ways to be able to incorporate these activities into whatever the situation is that you have and what your life looks like right now. The important piece of all of these is that the activities are all offering a space for you to relate, to create that relational connection, to be in that space and be in that moment with your child, and to be fully aware that you are in that moment with your child at that moment. And you doing that creates joy, creates delight, creates comfort, creates safety, creates security, and is building those positive relational connections with your children. So just to kind of connect that to the community we're speaking about, please don't feel overwhelmed that may not fit for you. And like we said at the beginning, we invite you to ask questions. If you would like support on how to make something work better for you, please submit those questions to RDF so that we can address those hopefully for you. So with that, we want to say thank you to everybody for showing up and participating today, for watching, learning, listening along with us. It has been an honor for Cherie and I, and for us at Reach, to walk alongside the rare community and offer bits of education, insight, encouragement, and empathy into the often difficult journeys that you do walk. And we are so grateful to be a partner along with you in the journey.